What would happen if the world just stopped listening to the United States? Quietly, countries that once stood by the US are turning away. Deals are being signed in secrecy, troops are packing up, and economies are shifting. But the real question is, who is leading this massive global change and why now? Stay tuned, because the next few countries will blow your mind. Their decisions could alter the course of global politics forever. Number 10. Saudi Arabia. For decades, the US and Saudi Arabia were inseparable. The US provided military support, and Saudi oil powered the global economy. But in 2025, everything changed. The kingdom began dramatically realigning its foreign policy. While the US still holds on to its energy and security relationship with Saudi Arabia, the kingdom has been strengthening ties with China and Russia. The relationship with China has deepened, especially as Saudi Arabia has increased oil sales to the world's largest energy consumer. But here's the kicker. They've also begun investing in alternative energy sources and technologies, signaling a shift in their long-term strategy. What happens when a country that's been the US's strongest Middle Eastern ally suddenly says, "We're doing it our way now"? The answer? The global balance of power is shifting, and the ripple effects will be felt across the world. Number 9. Mali. You wouldn't think of Mali as a major player in global politics, but in 2025, Mali made one of the most shocking moves of the decade, expelling US forces, aligning itself with Russia and China, and shaking off Western influence. This isn't just a small decision, it's a global statement. Why would a country that once depended heavily on US aid and military support cut all ties? The answer lies in Mali's military-led government, which believes that by rejecting Western influence, it can secure power more effectively. Mali has opened the door for Russian military trainers and Chinese infrastructure deals, signaling a complete reorientation of its alliances. This isn't just about Mali, it's about a new global order that's starting to form. So, what happens when a country in the heart of Africa decides it no longer needs the West? Mali's bold move could spark a domino effect across the continent, with other nations looking to break free from foreign influence. Number 8. Niger. Imagine waking up to find that a key US base in Africa has suddenly been abandoned. This isn't just about a military base. This is about power. In 2025, Niger made the unprecedented move to tell the US to pack up, and within days, Russian and Chinese forces quickly filled the void left behind. Why would Niger cut ties with the US after being such a crucial partner in the fight against terrorism? Years of frustration and unfulfilled promises have pushed the country to look for new partners. Niger's government is signaling to the world that it wants autonomy and influence on its own terms. And here's the real question. If the US's foothold in Africa crumbles, what does that mean for the broader war on terror? For US military presence in Africa? The implications are huge. The battle for global influence in Africa is now up for grabs. Number 7. China. Once the world's most eager partner with the US, China is now pushing the reset button. Trade wars, technology bans, and geopolitical tensions have strained the once thriving economic interdependence between these two giants. But what does it mean when China's relationship with the US begins to fray? By 2025, China's government is doubling down on self-reliance. Initiatives like Made in China 2025 are designed to reduce the country's dependence on US technology and manufacturing, while simultaneously expanding ties with other countries through its Belt and Road Initiative. However, China's move is not without risks. Internally, China is grappling with slowing economic growth, rising youth unemployment, and increasing political control over its citizens. Externally, while China is forging new partnerships with countries skeptical of US dominance, it's also facing growing isolation from others. The big question is this: How far will China go in redefining its global role? And what happens to the United States when its largest trade partner starts turning away? Number 6. Burkina Faso. It's not making headlines in the West, but behind closed doors, this country is making a radical move. Kicking out US troops, aligning itself with Russia, and making deals with China. This is no small shift. What happens when a country in the middle of a crisis decides it doesn't need Western help anymore? In 2025, Burkina Faso confirmed what had been building for over a year. They wanted sovereignty, no strings attached. This bold move is shaking up West Africa, with Russia now stepping in to offer military support and China financing critical infrastructure. But here's the twist. Burkina Faso's decision could inspire neighboring countries to follow suit, leaving the West with a shrinking presence in the region. The impact? A significant shift in the balance of power in Africa. Number 5. Russia. A global powerhouse that's now losing its grip. In 2025, Russia finds itself at a crossroads. Sanctions, a shrinking economy, and political isolation are making it harder for Russia to maintain its influence. What happens when a country that once dominated global politics begins to lose its footing? The Russian economy, already strained by sanctions, is struggling under the weight of a costly war effort. Its allies are starting to move away, and key economic partnerships are beginning to fray. Meanwhile, inside Russia, younger generations are becoming restless, facing limited opportunities and increasing censorship. The question is, how long can Russia maintain its power on the global stage when key allies are turning away and its own economy is faltering? The cracks in Russia's armor are deeper than anyone realized. Number 4. France. A country that helped form NATO is now quietly considering life after the alliance. France is no longer content to follow US leadership blindly. Instead, they've started drafting a new European defense strategy that doesn't rely on Washington's approval. Why would France, a founding member of NATO, move away from the US like this? The answer lies in years of frustration with unpredictable US foreign policy. France, alongside Germany, Italy, and Spain, is now positioning itself to lead Europe's defense future. The shift is happening quietly, but is gaining momentum as European countries look to chart their own course without American interference. What happens when France, once a staunch US ally, takes the lead in forging a new European future? Could this be the beginning of the end for NATO as we know it? Number 3. Germany. The economic powerhouse of Europe is no longer taking orders from the US. After retaliating against US tariffs, Germany is positioning itself for greater independence from US influence. But why? For one of America's closest allies to start making such bold moves is unheard of. Germany is now strengthening its ties with China and Russia, and this is just the beginning. This shift isn't just economic, it's geopolitical. Germany is working to build a European defense coalition and make sure its interests come first, no matter what the US thinks. So, what happens when Germany, Europe's economic engine, decides to turn its back on the US? The implications for Europe's future and the US's role in global security are massive. Number 2, the United Kingdom. A nation that's been America's closest ally for centuries is now quietly pulling away. From criticizing US policy on Gaza to joining the EU in sanctions against Russia, the UK is distancing itself from Washington's global strategy. Why would the UK, with its deep historical ties to the US, suddenly step away? It's a question that many are still grappling with. The truth is, the UK is no longer willing to play backup to Washington's foreign policy. As the UK shifts its focus towards Europe and other parts of the world, the US's closest ally might be leading the way in reshaping global politics. What happens when the UK, once the US's most loyal partner, decides it's time to forge its own path? It could signal the beginning of the end for America's dominance in the West. Number 1. Canada. Once America's closest partner, Canada is now quietly walking away. After imposing a massive 60 billion Canadian dollars in tariffs in retaliation for US trade policies, Canada's decision to distance itself from the US is one of the most significant breaks in modern history. What happens when a country like Canada, so tied to the US both economically and culturally, says, "Enough is enough"? This isn't just a trade dispute, it's the beginning of a permanent fracture. Canada's move could reshape North America's future, and the ripple effects will change everything you thought you knew about this continent. From the deserts of Saudi Arabia to the heart of Africa, the world is changing. Long-standing alliances are crumbling, and new powers are emerging. What happens when the US stops being the center of the world stage? The answer is unfolding before our eyes, and it's a future none of us saw coming. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video if it opened your eyes, and share it with your friends. Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.